Hey everybody, this is Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast, part of the Fans First Sports Network. It's good to be with you today. Thanks for having me. Everybody knows that I do a weekly question and answer article where you can send in your questions and emails, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. And we always will take one or two questions that we don't answer in writing and answer them on a video. And I got this question, and I'm looking forward to reading it to you. It comes from Tyler S. Tyler said, Hondo, you seem to be very high on Dave Ziegler. Can you explain to me why? First of all, I am very high on Dave Ziegler. In the interest of full disclosure, I like him personally. I think he's a tremendous guy. I like him as a person. He's a great husband. He's a great father, great son. So I like all those things about him. But as a general manager, I like him a lot. I think almost everything he's done since he came to the Raiders has been a good move. And so let's talk about those because I understand fans are very frustrated. The Las Vegas Raiders, Mark Davis, and the organization have sold you that the motto of the organization is just win, baby. And they haven't done that. And when they've had coaches that led them to the playoffs, those coaches end up getting fired. So I want you to know, I think the frustration, in my opinion, doesn't matter. But I was asked, so I'm going to give it. But I despise when media talk down to fans. I just hate it. And I don't do that. And so I don't tell fans what to think. I give my opinion and let you guys think whatever you want. I'm not God. But I understand the frustration with the fan base because you've been sold just win. Now, you've heard me say this to players and coaches, and I've said it many times. I'll say it again. When a fan walks into Allegiant Stadium and gives their ticket, you're the only one who's paying to be there. Mark Davis gets paid, the players get paid, the coaches get paid, the referees get paid, the people selling refreshments, the vendors, they all get paid. People selling souvenirs get paid. The media gets paid. So you're the only ones. And quite frankly, you're the only ones paying. So I think your opinion is more valuable than anyone else's. But having said that, I understand that the fans are very frustrated with the losing. And I just don't think it's losing. I really think it's how the team is lost. And so there's a lot of anger on top of it because the Raider Nation as a whole hates the Patriots. So in comes Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels. Now, I think year one is what it is. I think there were some mistakes for sure by players, for sure by Josh McDaniels, and I don't think Josh would even deny that. As a matter of fact, I know Josh wouldn't deny that. But I'm going to tell you one person that I think has done a very good job is Dave Ziegler. And I want to talk about him for a minute. First of all, he has gotten the Raiders into a position where they are financially sound. And I'm not talking about Mark Davis's checkbook, but I mean with the salary cap. He's made a lot of really smart decisions. He hasn't gone out and hugely overpaid for anyone. Now, as soon as I say that, some critics going to remark, well, what about Chandler Jones? Well, if you remember, Chandler Jones was coming off a great year. There was no reason to see the season he had last year. And even though he got paid a lot of money and he downplayed from the value of the contract, he still has time to come back. I still think that there's a good chance he will. But with what everyone else was offering and everything else, the Raiders didn't overpay. Dave Ziegler's been very, very careful to make sure, certain deals are only given to certain kind of players, doing a lot of one-year deals. He hasn't gone out and tried with every player to go overpay and get a bigger name. I mean, clearly he got Devontae, but Devontae came here for less money than Green Bay offered him. Sure, he got paid a lot of money, and he's lived up to it. He is went out and secured Max Crosby to what I think is an extremely favorable deal for the Raiders. That was a very team-friendly deal. Um, they went out and paid Hunter Renfrow a lot of money, an all-pro receiver, who had issues last year with health, but they didn't overpay him when they gave him that contract. That's just the contract that the market bore. You haven't seen him do anything stupid. Clearly, we don't judge the 2023 draft class for 4 years. But on paper, it was a terrific class, lauded by everyone I talked to around the league. Everyone I talked to around the league from multiple teams thought it was a terrific draft for Dave. Dylan Parham played extremely well. Now, you can say, well, Britton uh, uh, didn't, the running back. You'd be right. You could say Matthew Butler, Neil Farrell, the defensive tackles didn't, and you'd be right. But they're still in the first year and of a 4-year deal. They're growing as rookies. So overall, I just think his discipline with the salary cap, the way last year went, and he was able to, boom, there's an injury, go plug and play. I mean, getting Greg Van Roten was a big one. I think he's going to be a backup, but it was a big one. It was a big one. Just some of the decisions, the way they set up their draft board, the way they drafted. I think Dave Ziegler, whether you think you like Josh McDaniels or not, I think you could make a reasonable argument against Josh even after 1 year. Now, I believe in Josh. I know that's super unpopular and it's going to get me a ton of criticism, but my job when I do these podcasts is to tell you what I think and to tell you the truth. I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not going to throw gas on a fire that I don't think deserves to be burning. But I think you could make a reasonable argument of why you don't believe in Josh McDaniels. Now, I do, but I don't think the people who don't are stupid. But I think it'd be hard pressed for anybody to make an argument against Dave Ziegler. I think he has been solid in what he's done. I think he has performed very well for the Raiders. I think a lot of GMs, especially after last year, may have been looking to make some splashes, concerned about their jobs. He hasn't. He has thought long term the whole time. I think that's beneficial. I've seen a lot of teams where a general manager knew if something big didn't happen, he was going to lose his job, and he went out and did some stupid stuff because he didn't care about the future. That's not what you see with Dave Ziegler. He has been a tactician. He has been disciplined. When it was time to move up and go get guys, let's use Michael Mayer for an example. It's a guy they had a mid first round grade on. I mean, he was somewhere between 12 and 18 on the Raiders board. And man, he's sitting there. You really like him, and you think, man, that's a guy that can make a difference on my football team. And Josh McDaniels got to have a tight end. You're able to get him in the second round. They didn't overpay to move up. Again, great move there. I think you saw the way he's built his evaluators, the way he has built his staff, specifically talking about guys who are out on the streets, guys who are out at colleges and are trying to, get it. When you send a guy to college and you say, listen, I want you to go scout this, I want you to look at this, and you got to have guys who speak your language. I think they made some changes. I know they made some changes, and I think it benefited the Raiders to make them. I know they let some good people go, but they had to get guys that speak their language and gals that speak their language. So I think Dave Ziegler's done a tremendous job. And I think the Raider Nation, again, I still think Josh McDaniels is going to get the job done, but I can totally see people who don't agree with me. And I think a lot of them make a lot of salient and germane points that you can say, yeah, okay, I agree with that. But I don't see an argument that you can make for a Dave Ziegler at all. Now, I got another email I wanted to read. The last one was from Matt S. This one is from Tyler P. And Tyler asked me, Hondo, I'm a fan of Dave Ziegler. I'm not a fan of Josh McDaniels. Can you see a scenario in which Dave Ziegler would fire Josh McDaniels? No, they're a package, they're a team. That's the way it is. And Dave Ziegler got his job because he's the man that Josh McDaniels wanted in that office. And no, there's no scenario that I can imagine where Dave Ziegler walks in and fires Josh McDaniels and stays at general manager. They're a team and they're locked in, and it's going to be that way. So again, I want to make it clear. Uh, I think when you look at his discipline with the salary cap has been phenomenal. His discipline in not overspending, his discipline in being careful on who he brings in and the kind of contracts he brings in, and his flexibility to be able to go out and get guys during the season to plug and play when guys were injured. I think he's done a great job not only in draft picks but with the UDFAs. And I think that if the Raider Nation is looking for a reason to be excited, I think you clearly can put Dave Ziegler at one of the top of that list. I think he's a guy that will absolutely bring you what you want out of a general manager. I know around the NFL, he's extremely respected. Everybody I talk to, extremely respected. And he's a guy that's a good one. So again, like to answer some of your questions. There you go. That's my thoughts on Dave Ziegler and why I think the Raiders are better for having him. As always, I'm Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, part of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast, part of the Fans First Sports Network. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you again real soon.